Imagine waking up to a message that questions your very right to exist in your own home. For millions of Filipinos, that hypothetical became a chilling reality. In a statement that reverberated across the globe, China said something so audacious, so utterly dismissive of international law and the sovereignty of the Philippines, that the world watched in stunned silence. What exactly did China say about the Philippines that triggered this international firestorm? It wasn't just a political disagreement, it was a fundamental challenge to the rules-based order, a move that has left nations from Washington to Tokyo scrambling. This isn't just about two countries squabbling over rocks in the sea. This is about power, about who dictates the future of a critical global waterway, and about the very definition of national sovereignty in the 21st century. Get ready, because the details of this unprecedented statement will leave you absolutely shocked. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. In this in-depth investigation, we will dissect exactly what China said about the Philippines that sent shockwaves worldwide. We'll break down the complex geopolitical landscape of the South China Sea, explaining the key players and the long history of this simmering conflict in a way that's easy to understand, even if you haven't followed every headline. Think of it like this. Imagine your neighbor suddenly claiming ownership of your entire front yard, saying it was theirs all along, despite all the agreed upon property lines. That's the essence of what's happening here on a global scale. We'll explore why this statement from China is so significant, not just for the Philippines, but for international relations, global trade routes, and the potential for wider conflict. By the end of this video, you'll not only know precisely what China said, but also understand the profound implications for peace, stability, and the balance of power in Asia and beyond. At the heart of what China said about the Philippines lies a controversial and vaguely defined concept, the 9-dash line. You've likely heard it mentioned in news reports, but what exactly is this line? Imagine drawing 9 arbitrary dashes on a map with a thick marker. Now imagine claiming that everything inside those dashes belongs solely to you, regardless of what anyone else says. That's a simplified, yet surprisingly accurate way to visualize China's claim over vast swaths of the South China Sea. But here's the crucial question. Where did this line come from? What legal basis does it actually have under international law, the set of rules that most countries generally agree to follow? And perhaps most importantly, how does this sweeping claim directly impact the lives and livelihoods of millions of Filipinos who have fished and sailed these waters for generations? We'll delve into the murky origins and the legal challenges surrounding this 9-dash line, a geographical assertion that has become the flashpoint for this escalating global drama. Now let's get to the core of the issue, exactly what China said about the Philippines. The official statement, released through various state media channels, was multi-pronged and deeply provocative. Firstly, China unequivocally asserted its indisputable sovereignty over virtually the entire South China Sea, directly encompassing territories and waters internationally recognized as belonging to the Philippines under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Think of UNCLOS as the world's maritime constitution. Secondly, the statement accused the Philippines of illegally encroaching on Chinese territory and engaging in provocative actions, particularly around contested islands and reefs. Thirdly, China declared its unwavering resolve to defend its territorial integrity and warned other nations, particularly the United States, due to its mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, against interfering in what it considers an internal matter. The language was strong, assertive, and left little room for interpretation. It was a clear message. China considers the South China Sea almost in its entirety to be its own, and it will act accordingly. This wasn't just a diplomatic slap on the wrist. It was a fundamental redrawing of the geopolitical map in their eyes. In response to what China said about the Philippines, the United States, a long-standing ally of the Philippines, issued its own statements of support, reiterating its commitment to the Mutual Defense Treaty. Imagine having a pact with a good friend that says, if anyone messes with you, I've got your back. That's essentially what this treaty aims to be for the Philippines. But here's the critical question. How far does this commitment actually go? What specific actions would the US be obligated to take if China were to escalate its actions beyond strongly worded statements? Has the US clearly defined its red lines in the South China Sea, and would those red lines be enough to deter China? The strength and limitations of this crucial alliance will be a key factor in determining how this crisis unfolds. When China said the South China Sea was indisputably theirs, much of the international community pointed to one crucial document, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Think of UNCLOS as the global rulebook for who owns what in the ocean. It clearly defines concepts like a country's territorial sea, imagine the waters right next to your beach, which extends 12 nautical miles, and the exclusive economic zone, EEZ, extending 200 nautical miles, where a nation has special rights to resources like fish and oil. In 2016, an international tribunal at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, acting under UNCLOS, overwhelmingly ruled in favor of the Philippines, invalidating the majority of China's 9-dash line claim. China has consistently refused to recognize this ruling, essentially saying, "We don't agree with the referee's decision, so it doesn't count." This blatant disregard for international law is a major reason why what China said has caused such global alarm. It challenges the very foundation of how nations peacefully coexist and resolve disputes on the world's oceans. While the legal arguments under UNCLOS are significant, China's assertive stance in the South China Sea is driven by more than just historical claims. What other powerful forces are at play here? Is it simply about controlling fishing grounds and potential oil and gas reserves, or are there deeper strategic and domestic considerations fueling China's actions? Think about a growing company needing more resources to expand. Similarly, China's booming economy has a voracious appetite for energy and raw materials, much of which could potentially lie beneath the South China Sea. Furthermore, how does national pride and a desire to reassert historical regional dominance factor into what China said about the Philippines and its broader strategy? We'll explore the complex web of economic, military, and political motivations driving China's assertive behavior in the region. Behind the legal battles and geopolitical maneuvering, there's a very real and deeply personal human cost to what China said about the Philippines and its actions in the South China Sea. Imagine being a fisherman, just trying to earn a living to feed your family in the same waters your ancestors have fished for generations. Now imagine being constantly harassed, your nets cut, your boat rammed by much larger vessels, and your hard-earned catch stolen, all because another country claims these waters as their own. This is the daily reality for countless Filipino fishermen. Their stories of intimidation and fear are a stark reminder that this isn't just an abstract political dispute. It's about the livelihoods, safety, and very dignity of ordinary people. What China said isn't just words on paper. It translates to real-world consequences for Filipinos who are simply trying to exercise their internationally recognized rights within their own exclusive economic zone. Their resilience in the face of this ongoing pressure is both inspiring and deeply troubling. Given the gravity of what China said about the Philippines and its implications for regional stability, one might expect a strong, unified response from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, a regional bloc that includes both the Philippines and several other countries with overlapping claims in the South China Sea. But the response from ASEAN has often been muted. Why the seemingly hesitant or divided reaction? Think of a group of neighbors where one neighbor is significantly larger and more economically powerful than the others. It might be difficult for the smaller neighbors to speak out too forcefully for fear of repercussions. What are the internal dynamics and competing interests within ASEAN that might explain this cautious approach to China's assertiveness? And what impact does this lack of a strong, unified regional stance have on the Philippines' ability to defend its sovereignty? The conflict surrounding what China said about the Philippines isn't just about territorial pride, it's deeply intertwined with crucial economic interests that have global ramifications. The South China Sea is one of the most vital shipping lanes in the world. Imagine it as a major artery for global trade, with trillions of dollars worth of goods passing through its waters every year, everything from the electronics in your phone to the clothes you wear. Any instability or disruption in this area could have significant consequences for global supply chains and the world economy. Furthermore, the seabed beneath these contested waters is believed to hold vast reserves of oil and natural gas, resources that are increasingly important for fueling the economies of the region. China's desire to control this area is therefore also driven by a need for energy security and economic dominance. Its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project across Asia and beyond, further underscores its strategic economic goals in the region. Understanding these economic undercurrents provides a crucial context for understanding the true stakes of what China said about the Philippines. In addition to military posturing and diplomatic statements, there's another crucial battleground in this conflict: the battle for public opinion. Both China and the Philippines, along with other involved nations, are actively engaged in shaping the global narrative surrounding the South China Sea dispute. Think of it like two sides trying to convince the world that they are in the right. How effectively is China using its state-controlled media to disseminate its version of events and justify what it said about the Philippines? What counter-narratives are being presented by the Philippines and its allies? And how can ordinary people discern the truth amidst this fog of information and potential disinformation? The way this story is framed in the media can have a significant impact on international support and diplomatic pressure. The tension in the South China Sea is palpable, and it's not just about words. China has been steadily increasing its military presence in the region, transforming previously uninhabited reefs into fortified islands complete with runways, missile batteries, and radar systems. This significant buildup of military infrastructure serves as a clear demonstration of China's resolve to enforce its claims, regardless of international law or the protests of the Philippines. While the Philippines has a much smaller and less equipped military, it is increasingly relying on its alliance with the United States and strengthening its own defense capabilities. The presence of the US Navy in the region acts as a deterrent, but it also raises the risk of unintended escalations. This delicate dance of military power, a dangerous game of brinkmanship, underscores the potential for miscalculation and the urgent need for peaceful resolution of the underlying disputes sparked by what China said about the Philippines. You might be watching this from thousands of miles away, perhaps in Kubwa Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria, and wondering why a dispute between China and the Philippines should concern you. But the implications of what China said and the ongoing tensions in the South China Sea extend far beyond the immediate region. How could a potential conflict here disrupt global trade and impact the prices of everyday goods? What role does freedom of navigation in these waters play in the global economy? And what are the broader consequences for international law and the principle of national sovereignty if a powerful nation like China can unilaterally disregard international rulings? Understanding these global connections reveals why this seemingly localized dispute is actually a matter of significant concern for people around the world. Amidst the rising tensions and assertive statements, are there still avenues for peaceful resolution? Diplomacy and dialogue remain the primary tools for navigating this complex situation, stemming from what China said about the Philippines. Both countries have engaged in numerous rounds of bilateral talks, although progress has been limited due to the fundamental disagreement over sovereignty. Regional efforts through ASEAN also aim to foster dialogue and develop a code of conduct for the South China Sea, although the effectiveness of these efforts remains a subject of debate. International pressure, including statements from the United Nations and other concerned nations, also plays a role in encouraging peaceful solutions. However, the deep-seated mistrust and the fundamental differences in their positions make finding a mutually acceptable compromise a significant challenge. The path to peace in the South China Sea requires a willingness from all parties to engage in meaningful dialogue, respect international law, and prioritize regional stability over unilateral claims. Faced with the immense power and assertiveness of China, what are the Philippines' options for defending its sovereignty and protecting its people? Beyond its alliance with the United States, what other strategies can the Philippines pursue? Think about David facing Goliath. Sometimes cleverness and resilience can be more powerful than brute force. Could the Philippines leverage international legal mechanisms more effectively? How important is building a strong domestic consensus and fostering national unity in the face of external pressure? And what role can international public opinion play in supporting the Philippines' cause? We'll explore the various avenues the Philippines might consider as it navigates this challenging geopolitical landscape. As we discussed earlier, the battle for public opinion is a critical component of this conflict. China invests heavily in disseminating its narrative about the South China Sea, often employing tactics of misinformation and propaganda to justify what it said about the Philippines and its actions. It's crucial to be able to critically evaluate the information we consume and distinguish between factual reporting and biased narratives. Look for credible sources, consider multiple perspectives, and be wary of emotionally charged language or unsubstantiated claims. The Philippines, too, is working to counter these narratives and present its own case to the international community. In this information battlefield, media literacy and a commitment to seeking out reliable sources are essential tools for understanding the truth behind this complex global issue. Looking ahead, what are the possible futures for the South China Sea dispute, especially in light of what China said about the Philippines? Will diplomacy ultimately prevail, leading to a peaceful resolution and perhaps even joint development of resources? Or could we see a further escalation of tensions, potentially leading to a dangerous military confrontation? Is a long-term stalemate the most likely outcome, with both sides maintaining their positions but avoiding direct conflict? The range of possibilities is wide, and the actions taken by China, the Philippines, the United States, and other regional actors will play a crucial role in shaping the future of this vital waterway. We've covered a lot of ground today, unpacking the complexities surrounding what China said about the Philippines and the broader South China Sea dispute. The key takeaways are clear. This is a multifaceted issue involving historical claims, international law, economic interests, military power, and a crucial battle for truth and perception. While the situation can seem overwhelming, understanding the nuances is the first step towards informed engagement. You might be wondering, what can I as an individual do about this? Staying informed by following reputable news sources, engaging in respectful online discussions, and supporting organizations that promote international law and human rights are all meaningful actions you can take. By understanding the stakes and staying engaged, we can collectively contribute to a more informed global community. The world was indeed shocked by what China said about the Philippines. It was a statement that challenged not just the sovereignty of a single nation, but the very principles of international order. As we've seen, this isn't just a distant geopolitical squabble, it's a conflict with real human costs, profound economic implications, and the potential for wider instability. The people of the Philippines, with their rich history and vibrant culture, stand at the forefront of this challenge, demonstrating incredible resilience in the face of immense pressure. Their fight to protect their sovereign rights is a fight for the principles that underpin a peaceful and stable world. The question that remains is, how will the international community respond? Will the rule of law prevail? Will diplomacy find a way to de-escalate tensions and secure a peaceful future for this critical region? The eyes of the world are on the Philippines, the nation standing firm in the face of a powerful neighbor, a testament to the enduring spirit of a people determined to defend their home. The story of the Philippines in the South China Sea is far from over, and the next chapter will be crucial in shaping the future of international relations in the 21st century. Understanding the complexities of what China said about the Philippines empowers us to engage with this critical global issue in a more informed and meaningful way. You now have a deeper understanding of the historical context, the legal frameworks, the human impact, and the potential paths forward. But our exploration of global power dynamics and international relations doesn't end here. To further expand your understanding of how nations navigate complex challenges and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in other parts of the world, I highly encourage you to watch our next video, The Unexpected Alliance That Could Redefine Global Power. Click the link on the screen right now to continue your journey of understanding and stay informed about the forces shaping our world. Remember, knowledge is power, and by staying informed, we can all contribute to a more peaceful and just future.